Most of you know how to jumpstart your car, but what if your retirement plan is the one that needs a jump? Hello, I'm Wes Wood, the Income Guy and founder and president of Wood Financial Group. And for nearly 20 years, I've specialized in helping hardworking Tennesseans just like you reach their retirement goals through income-based financial strategies. So if you're looking for the right solutions to achieve your own financial goals, I can help you. Just reach out to me at retiretv.com or by calling 855-776-0614 during today's show or at any time. All right, so does your retirement plan need a jump start? If so, you're not alone. Matter of fact, every year survey shows that millions of Americans feel underprepared for retirement, often because their efforts have stalled and they feel powerless to get them going again. And if that sounds familiar, you're in luck, because today we're going to teach you how to hook up the cables and jumpstart your retirement. We'll cover the reasons why your plan may have stalled, tips on how to get it going again, and then strategies on how to keep it running smoothly. And joining me on this week's show again is David Scranton. Dave is an investing for income specialist with over 30 years of experience. He's also a best-selling author and a television host. But before we get to Dave, let's look at some of the common reasons why your retirement may need a jump. Northwestern Mutual did a survey, and Northwestern showed that 78% of Americans say they're extremely, or at least somewhat worried about not having enough money saved for retirement. And why is this? Well, one reason people that gave in this survey said that their day-to-day expenses just eat up any extra money that they could have saved for retirement. And that can be a challenge. And we all have those financial obligations, either to ourselves or to our children, and nowadays, in many cases, to an aging parent. And even adding to that challenge, until recently, wages were stagnant for many people. It was tough to even keep pace with the cost of living, and let alone have extra money to save for retirement. And that brings up the other major reason why many retirement plans have stalled in recent years, which is the economy. A decade ago, we were in the depths of a great recession and still struggling to recover from the financial crisis. That recovery was painfully slow, and then came the pandemic, and our worst economic crisis hit since the Great Depression. The coronavirus pandemic forced many people to do things that they didn't want to, like dip into their retirement savings or perhaps start taking Social Security they had originally planned. These are all tough situations for sure, but legitimate financial issues aren't the only reason a retirement plan can stall. The truth is that there are many people who earn enough to save for retirement, but they just don't make saving a priority. As one financial writer put it, it's the American way to spend 100% of what they bring in. So for some people, that's true, which means for them, it's more psychological than it is financial. But there's another common psychological clinker, which is this: the very idea of accumulating a comfortable savings as defined by so-called experts can be overwhelming. For instance, if you're a middle-aged man who's been told you need over $1.5 million saved for your retirement, you may be thinking, I'll never make it to that, so why even bother trying? Again, these are real issues that can leave you feeling powerless. The good news is that you're not powerless, and there are steps that you can take to jumpstart your retirement. And I'm going to talk about more about that shortly, but here's your first chance to learn more right now. You can visit me. Visit me at retiretv.com or by calling 855-776-0614 to receive your free retirement income kit. But now, let's welcome David Scranton. David is the founder of Sound Income Strategies and the Retirement Income Store. Hey Dave, thanks again for joining me again this week.
Of course, Wes, great to be here. Now, I know, you're talking to everybody, people who really haven't saved at all because of those psychological impediments, but so far, I think you're talking primarily to people who have saved, they've tried to be diligent and responsible, but just gotten off track. Maybe they've had extended unemployment period, or they got caught in the Great Recession, and maybe their initial growth projections weren't the same after that as they were before. But mostly you're talking about people that have done something but are just afraid of falling a bit short, correct?
That's right. And most people that I'm kind of referring to, I mean, there are a lot of folks that really have hardly saved anything for retirement and they're way behind. But we need to remember that it's never too late to start. So even if somebody hasn't started saving in their 40s and 50s yet, or even early 60s, just get started somehow, some way. But yes, most of the folks that I'm really talking about is maybe folks that do have some money in their 401k, their IRAs, and they just need a jump start to get on the right track again. Because what I've seen is that a lot of those folks that do have money saved and put away, they think that their retirement is stalled because they get so hung up on having to have this just big lump sum number, so they really aren't getting after it again like they should.
And sometimes too, I find in maybe you can talk about this a bit, but I find that people go two ways. Sometimes people are overly confident because they have a big lump sum, even though it doesn't generate a lot of interest or dividends. They feel like I've got so much money, I must be okay. And then there's other in retirement probably cost them more than they think. And there's other times when they've got a smaller lump sum, but they're surprised when they do that top-down analysis. You always talk about that. They actually need less than they thought.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. I've had a lot of folks that come in that looks like they have a nice lump sum, and it looks good on a statement and it looks nice to maybe brag to their friends about, but if it's not allocated correctly to earn interest and dividends, then there's a big misstep there, and that retirement plan needs to get jump started and put into the right strategy to generate them income in retirement so they know what kind of cash flow they can expect. And on the other hand, I have a lot of people that come in that say, oh, well, Wes, I don't have anything, or I really don't have much saved at all. And then after spending time with them, doing a top-down analysis, seeing how much income that they need for retirement, then we look at their portfolio and realize they do have enough lump sum. If converted into fixed income, can be enough to generate interest and dividends to cover that gap and to successfully retire. And they're much happier when they leave than they walked in as compared to. But yeah, great question. But Dave, hey, stay with us. We're going to talk more in just a bit, but coming up, I'm going to share some steps that you can take right now to jumpstart your retirement. I'm Wes Wood, the Income Guy, and you're watching the Retirement Income Show.
Retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs are great tools to save for retirement. They offer tax advantages to help keep more money in your pocket. But withdrawing money from your accounts can have a huge impact on your tax liability. Take money from the right account at the right time and you could minimize it. But taking money from the wrong account at the wrong time could result in a big tax burden. If you're not sure what you should do with your 401k in retirement, visit retiretv.com to schedule a free, no-obligation conversation with Wes Wood and Wood Financial Group.
Hi, I'm Wes Wood, founder of Wood Financial Group. Did you know that one simple mistake can derail your retirement plan? Could you be making that mistake right now? By not making the shift from growth-based to income-based investing, you could be setting up your retirement plan to fail. If you're at or near retirement age, time is not on your side. One market correction could wipe out your life savings. Make the switch today so you can preserve your assets and generate retirement income you can count on. Visit retiretv.com to download your free retirement income kit from Wood Financial Group. Welcome back. I'm Wes Wood, the Income Guy. Hey, thanks for joining me today as we talk about how to jumpstart your retirement. And so far, we've looked at some of the reasons why retirement planning has stalled for a lot of folks. Now, let's talk about how to hook up those cables and get it going again. Well, the first place to start is with a basic zero-based budget, meaning just add up all your monthly income and expenses, then start subtracting the latter from the former. Of course, that can be easier said than done because things tend to pop up. Matter of fact, in one survey, people said that unexpected costs were the biggest challenges that they faced when saving for retirement. But one way to tackle that challenge is to earmark money in your budget for a rainy day fund. Not having any savings like a rainy day fund increases your odds of turning to things like credit cards or borrowing when an emergency would crop up. Speaking of which, another good tip is maybe paying down debt. Maybe you have extra debt out there that just needs to be taken off your balance sheet. And knocking out all that debt can actually save you money in the long run. That being said, you really shouldn't defer building up your retirement savings until after all your debt is paid off, because there is good debt. But the two should go hand in hand. And they can go hand in hand with a good planning and with good discipline. Simply put, for most of your working years, your savings efforts should be on autopilot, meaning you should maximize your contributions to your retirement plan through your company you work with. But you can also maximize your resources through human capital. That means maybe you work a little bit longer, which many people are doing anyway just because they want to and perhaps enjoy their job. And as you may already know, thanks to the 2019 Secure Act, there is now no age limit on making tax-deferred contributions to your traditional IRA. With these and other strategies, you can help your retirement plan get jump-started and running again more quickly than you even realize. And you can keep it running smoothly all the way through retirement. Of course, you can learn more right now. You can learn more right now by reaching out to me at retiretv.com or by calling 855-776-0614 now or during really any time after the show is aired to receive your free retirement income kit. But for now, let's welcome back income specialist David Scranton. Welcome back, Dave.
Thanks, Wes. You know, I know what I say to clients and prospective clients about how to determine how much they really need in an emergency fund, so to speak. But I'd like to get your thoughts.
6 months of expenses is normally a pretty good idea to have in a rainy day fund or emergency savings account. So let's take an example of your expenses a year being, $60,000. So you need to keep about $30,000 in that rainy day fund. And a lot of people ask, well, where should I have my rainy day fund? Well, that needs to be in a place that's very accessible, like for instance, a checking account or a savings account that you can simply transfer to your checking account, or perhaps a money market account, or even a money market mutual fund account. So to answer your question, about 6 months is a good amount to have in that emergency account.
And of course, if you have a big lump sum purchase coming up, then that number has to be a bigger number, right?
Absolutely, that's correct.
So hey, some advisors say you should be completely debt-free into retirement. Others say, there's some debt that's bad debt, but not all debt is bad debt. What are your personal thoughts about that when you talk to your clients?
Yeah, well, it really depends on the situation, but obviously things that have high interest like credit cards or high interest car notes, things that you're really going to eat up through interest to the bank probably needs to be paid off before retirement. However, many folks go into retirement now with a mortgage, and I don't think that's the worst thing because right now interest rates are extremely low. So to pay off a mortgage may delay retirement many, many years, where perhaps somebody could retire now with a mortgage and really enjoy those first years of retirement, which are typically some of the very, very best years. But having less debt is definitely a good idea, because if you think about it, by having less debt, you have less outflow and an expense every month, which ends up increasing your disposable income.
One thing I know you and I talk to people about all the time is as you get a pay raise, it's money you're not used to having in your pocket, so just take that raise and put it into your 401k before you see it. But do you find that most people have the self-discipline to actually do that, or would they rather take it and use it for lifestyle?
It really depends. With proper coaching, I've seen most people take advantage of that, what's called the auto-escalating feature perhaps in their 401k. If people get accustomed to a certain income every single month and budget their expenses around it while they're working, that's great. But what happens a lot of times is that if people get paid a little bit more money and fail to maybe put that extra savings into their 401k, well, they increase their expenses. And believe me, as you probably know, a lot of your clients know, my clients know, once you go up in your expenses, it's a lot harder to go back down. So I'd rather just get accustomed to a current level of income And hey, whatever I could throw into that 401k, including raises or whatever retirement plan is available, is really the way to go to give a lot more of money for retirement.
And good point. I forgot about the auto escalating feature. Probably 1/3 of your viewers have that feature where they can set it up so when they get a pay raise, it just gets stuffed away, and then it takes the human element out of it. But so what are some other final thoughts, some other strategies that people might want to utilize as they get close to retirement, things they want to review?
Oh yeah, I mean, even some things can be done just over the weekend or on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon, and which is simply just looking at your expenses. You know, nowadays with the credit card statements or bank account statements, you can see all the expenses that are going out the door. And what I found is that a lot of times there's some expenses on there that really need to be cleaned up and taken off. You know, for example, in this digital age, it seems like everything has a monthly subscription charge, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps there's some things that you're subscribed to years ago, and you could just simply cancel that subscription and save a little bit of money. Another thing, perhaps you need to look over your insurance policies, your property and casualty, or even your life insurance policies, and shop them around. There could be a lot of expenses that you're paying there for insurance that you just simply don't need. But really just, you know, looking and managing all of that outflow of capital and trying to find ways to reduce some of those is a good way to go.
Yeah. No, it's always good advice, and you're right. So, you know, when you see the little gecko on television, don't ignore the commercials and think how cute they are. Maybe just pick up the telephone, dial the phone. You'd be surprised. You know, it's a couple of $100 here and there. People may think it's not a lot, but it all adds up.
And yeah, and just imagine if you can save a couple of $100 every single month, and you're already used to spending it, just go ahead and dump that into your retirement savings if you're years from retirement. But yeah, what's the gecko say? Call me now today to save 15% or more on your car insurance. So that's a great way to save quite a bit of money. But hey, Dave, thanks again. And hey, we're going to get back. We're going to talk in just a few minutes, so stick around. But first, I'm going to talk to you about the key to keeping your financial strategy running smoothly throughout your retirement. Hint, hint, the answer is income. I'm Wes Wood, and you're watching the Retirement Income Show.
A fiduciary is someone legally obligated to act in your best interest. Doctors, lawyers, and some financial advisors are fiduciaries, but not all. When you work with Wes Wood and his team at Wood Financial Group, you are working with fiduciaries. They help clients create customized investment portfolios based off their retirement goals. If you're ready to work with a fiduciary, visit retiretv.com and schedule a free, no-obligation conversation with Wes or a Wood Financial Group advisor.
Welcome back. I'm Wes Wood, the Income Guy. Glad you're joining us today. And we're talking about how to jumpstart your retirement plan if it's stalled, and then how to keep it running smoothly. We've covered the first part, so now let's focus on the second. You know, once you've got your retirement plan running again, you need to start to concentrate on fine-tuning it to meet your specific needs and goals. And step one is to identify those goals. What are your goals? Do you plan on downsizing your home and moving? If so, where are you going to move to? Do you plan on traveling? Or maybe you plan on starting a new business, or perhaps hike up Gatlinburg Trail. But in conjunction with your goals, you need to figure out your timeline for retirement. If you had to jumpstart your plan, your timeline may have to be adjusted. And the sooner you can figure out that and orient your plan toward your timeline, the better off you're going to be. Next, do a top-down budget analysis to help you determine your retirement income needs. And that involves identifying all the expenses that you expect to go away after you retire. But it can also help you give a target goal for your savings. But I don't want you to get too hung up on chasing a particular lump sum. But then you can identify and add up all the other sources of retirement income other than your savings, that is. And obviously this means income like Social Security, but also if you're blessed to have a pension, or perhaps maybe you're going to work a little part-time while you're semi-retired and so forth. And finally, make sure your financial strategy is right for your current level of risk tolerance. And I say current level of risk tolerance because risk tolerance can change. You may want to reduce or increase your level of risk depending on a number of factors, including your age, maybe your timeline, and perhaps the total amount of savings you have. Finally, make sure you have a financial advisor who knows how to help you fine-tune your plan to meet your individual goals. And in my experience, that means an advisor who specializes in retirement income, one who can help you shift your strategic focus from portfolio growth to retirement income at just the right time. And with just the right strategy to help you achieve your goals and keep your financial plan running smoothly all the way throughout retirement. And you can jump on all of that right now by reaching out to me directly at retiretv.com or by calling 855-776-0614 to receive your free retirement income kit. Now, let's welcome back income specialist and the founder of the Retirement Income Store, David Scranton, one last time today. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Wes. You know, one of the things that occurs to me that we talk about all the time that perhaps you might want to touch upon with your viewers is that there's a big difference between people who have goals that require a lump sum expenditure versus those who retire as the majority where their goals are more income-based than they are lump sum-based, and how that affects your recommendations for them.
Yeah, you got it. Well, you know, it's funny because most folks that are young have more lump sum goals, right? Most folks that are young say, oh, I want to buy that car, I want to buy that house. Where most folks that are getting close to or in retirement have more lifestyle goals. And so lump sum goals means that you need to put money into a certain type of investment account or checking or savings account to build up a certain amount of lump sum in order to pay for something in particular by taking a lump sum out of their portfolio. But whereas income goals or lifestyle goals, perhaps like hobbies, you need a regular stream of retirement income. So it's going to be a different type of way to invest the money in order to generate income to pay for those lifestyle goals versus paying for those lump sum type of goals.
Okay, I got it. So for a lump sum type of goal, you want to focus on total return regardless of whether it comes from growth or income. But
Right.
for income goals, you want to focus on the income as the primary driver, which I guess is why you always talk about maximizing Social Security. It almost seems to creep its way into every show, but it's because the majority of people's goals when they retire are income-based, and Social Security for many is the only fixed income source that they have outside of their investments, right?
Yeah, I mean, pensions are kind of going away. It used to be that everybody had a pension that came to office 15 years ago, but now, as private pensions are going away and less people are working for the government, many people have to rely on their own savings. But fortunately, everybody, for the most part, everybody receives Social Security. And for a lot of folks, of course, Social Security isn't going to be enough to live off of alone, but it could be a huge cornerstone of income. So the one thing that we want to do is make sure to maximize Social Security. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't take the time to understand what's the best rule to follow, what's the best combination to go with in order to maximize their benefits. Because the difference between maybe one combination versus another could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in lifetime benefits. So yes, it's very important to make sure you understand what's the best way for you to maximize your benefits.
You know, I find that a lot of people who feel like they need to jumpstart their retirement, that are a little bit behind the eight ball, they always want to retire at age 70 because that's the age when they max out Social Security. It's also the age when RMDs, required minimum distributions, traditionally came into play. But now those come into play at age 72. So, you know, share with your audience what's most important for them to understand about planning for those required minimum distributions.
Yeah. So you're right, Dave. So required minimum distributions is exactly that. It is required. And if you fail to take a required distribution, the government hits you with a 50% penalty. So you got to do it. But what you want to make sure of is as you're taking those required distributions, it's coming from just interest and dividends and not from principal. So if somebody is unfortunately liquidating principal in order to get to those required distributions, what's happening? They're spending down their portfolio and they're essentially running out of money at the early age of now at 72 years old. And that can be a very, very slippery slope. So adjusting to where interest and dividends are covering those RMDs is the way to the way to make sure that that portfolio stays intact for much, much longer throughout retirement.
The last couple gotchas are things that apply to everyone, but especially for people who feel like they're a little bit behind the eight ball, and that is inflation once they retire and how to keep up with it, and also future healthcare expenses. So what are your best words of wisdom to help hedge against those?
Yeah, you got it. I mean, you definitely want to make sure to plan for inflation and healthcare inflation, because that's kind of the silent killer, if you will. And most folks are going to spend 20 years in retirement, 20, 30 years in retirement. If you think about it for a moment, things 30 years ago were far less money. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our principal intact for as long as possible to adjust as things get more expensive later on in life, especially healthcare inflation. But hey, Dave, thanks for joining me again today. Great questions. Always enjoy our talks. And for me, I'm Wes Wood, the Income Guy, and thank you for watching. And if you have any questions about anything we've covered on today's show, please reach out to me directly at retiretv.com or by calling 855-776-0614. Hey, thanks, and we'll see you again next week.
Retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs are great tools to save for retirement. They offer tax advantages to help keep more money in your pocket. But withdrawing money from your accounts can have a huge impact on your tax liability. Take money from the right account at the right time and you could minimize it. But taking money from the wrong account at the wrong time could result in a big tax burden. If you're not sure what you should do with your 401k in retirement, visit retiretv.com to schedule a free, no-obligation conversation with Wes Wood and Wood Financial Group.